Greetings, my brothers and sisters. This is my every other week lesson from South Valley Neighborhood Church. I'm hoping all my brothers and sisters on Facebook and South Valley Neighborhood Church are well. And I think that God is definitely taking care of us. We've had a few prayer requests, and from what I understand, things have worked out, and God has answered those prayers for people that have contacted us. I wanted to do a lesson on the end times. Are we in the end times? Are we approaching it? We know that no man knoweth the hour or the day when Christ makes his second coming, but it is interesting to look at some of the scenarios that go on before he actually makes his appearance or second coming. And I wanted to do that. A lot of people will go directly into Revelation or Daniel, and one of the things is that, as time moves and circumstances change, then some of the detailed guesses that some preachers make wind up not being accurate. So I don't go into them at that extent, but it is interesting to see what Christ had to say. Not that Christ was not speaking through John when he had the Revelation written, or Daniel, but these are red letter words that are in Matthew, and so his disciples ask him direct. So let me start out in Matthew 24:1, and I don't know if I'll finish this topic today, but I'll at least get us started, and maybe we can carry on with it on the next lesson. But in Matthew 24:1, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple. They were in Jerusalem, in the temple, and Jesus went out and departed, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another. It shall not be thrown down. And this is definitely happened. And we'll get a little bit more into that here in a few minutes. So the disciples continue on with their questioning. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming? What can we look forward to so that we know that the end is approaching? What shall be the sign of the coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Let's start out with that. And that's his opening remark, if you want to talk about this subject. Don't be on your toes, and don't let any man deceive you. Because I can tell you, one thing that I think about is that the answer isn't going to come from man. It's funny about humans, they look to men to solve their problems. And the problems that mankind has, he creates himself. Man is the last person we need to try to solve our problems. Man is the last person we need to make heroes out of. So if you're counting on mankind to save you, most of the time what they're going to do is deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. You wouldn't think that would be so easy to do, but it seems to be fairly easy to do. When it says, they'll say, I am Christ. And what Christ is saying is, they'll say, I am the anointed. And if you think about it, how many people, since Christ was here, the Messiah, have decided to call themselves the anointed with a new truth? I can tell you Muhammad decided that he had the correct truth. I disagree. Started a whole new religion. And then many have come in all kinds of countries, pulling huge masses to themselves, claiming to be the anointed with the truth to solve mankind's problems. And it doesn't even need to be in a theological way. It could be in, their claim is scientific, that they can solve all man's problems. And that one is really scary. We didn't create the universe, and the last thing we need to do is think that we know how to manipulate the universe through science to solve mankind's problems. I think they're doing that with viruses, and it's not working too well. So, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Then he starts to go into some other things that they need to look for to know when the end is soon. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So he's talking about two things. There's going to be a lot of wars, and there's going to be a lot of talk about wars coming. So there shall be wars. You'll hear of wars, and speak about wars that are about to take place. And we can see that. There's all kinds of wars around us right now. I mean, Russia's got thousands of men off, I forget the name of the country, ready to invade the Ukraine. And Israel is surrounded by nothing but hostile countries. China wants to take Taiwan. China's building out of, in the middle of ocean, this, I guess, South Pacific, these oceans made out of block and rubble and whatnot that they're building air stations on, and so they can control the shipping lines. South China Sea. It's not looking too good. In fact, this testing of a supersonic nuclear missile, ICBM, is really frightening. There's no way to stop something like that. If it's fired, it's going to hit. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. They're going and must come to pass. You say, why do they need to come to pass? Why can't man just learn to get along? If you look, I've done studies on the seven dispensations, the dispensationalism mentioned throughout the Bible. The first dispensation is the Edenic. You have man in a perfect environment. Then you have man where he's only, that's one dispensation, man fails it. And then you have man in a situation where he operates based on his own conscience because he knows good and evil, and miserably failed on that one. The world became so full of murder that it repented God that he had made man, and he destroyed mankind except for 8 people. And then you have the dispensation of man under law, under human government, under grace. Man fails. In any of these situations, man fails. And we're going to see that man is about to fail in the last dispensation, the second to the last. The last will be the millennial kingdom, and man will fail in that. And you say, well, why does God want man to fail? He doesn't want man to fail. He wants man to see that he will always fail without our God. And if he doesn't let man go and practice the free will and see that he fails, then man will not learn. At some point you have to prove the point, you have to let mankind do what it's going to do. And I'm going to show you what mankind will be doing to itself here in a minute. Now in Matthew 24:7 it says, "For nation shall rise against nation," and remember we talked about that. Race or ethnic group will rise against other ethnic groups. Race wars is what it's talking about here. No, it says nation, Ed, will rise against nation. Well, the only problem with that theory is that the next thing he says, "For nation shall rise against nation," and the word is ethnos, ethnic group, shall rise against ethnic group, and kingdom against kingdom. So you have total division and hatred between the races, and you have total division and hatred between the various countries, nations, kingdoms. When I say nations, I'm speaking in the modern day sense of, the United States, China, the European Union, whatever, political governments, okay? So no matter which way you look at it, man is completely divided, and there is nothing but hatred amongst mankind. So let me just read 24:7 one more time. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence." Okay, now let me go with those two. When you think of famines, just to show you, it's not just ethnic group against ethnic group, but it actually, we're split up between the people that are urbanites from the suburbs or the flyover country. And the people in the urban areas don't like the people in the flyover country areas. They're backward hicks of this or that, or the people in the flyover country areas, they're farmers and things like that, ranchers, cattle ranchers, and they hate the high density urban people. And it's kind of interesting because you say, well, what does that have to do with famines? When these two battle, and you have the urban areas, the high density urban areas, disliking the farmers and their cruelty to the animals and this and that, and they don't want them farming. It might affect some moth somewhere that's not doing well or whatever. And besides, why do we even need those backwards people? Well, how about for food? No, food comes from the drugstores and the supermarkets. Now, I don't think that they have like egg trees where you can pick a dozen eggs behind the store and then they bring them forth and put them on a shelf. It takes big chicken farms to do that, and turkey farms so you can have your Christmas turkeys and all these things that that are in these huge high density packed urban areas really have no clue as to what it takes to fill a store with flesh of animals, or eggs, or milk. It takes agriculture. It takes water, uses water resources, precious water. It's becoming more and more scarce too. But if you're going to eat, you're going to need the water. And apparently something's happening in Matthew 24:7, because famines are hitting, and they're going to hit. And they have been hitting. And thousands have been dying from famines. Because you say, well, that's just because of the global warming, this and that. No, that's because man is always involved in war and puts all his resources into war and killing and control and power instead of farming, ranching. And then it says pestilences. Famines and pestilences. And I think, we've been covering and watching Pestilence. Now we have a clearer idea. It's funny that none of the self-proclaimed prophets, none of them prophesied that I know of that these pestilences might be coming from man himself manufacturing them. A lot of people don't believe that that's the case, but let me tell you, there's a lot of very, very wise scientists that I believe that this gain-of-function research wound up either allowing a pathogen to escape. So there's I'm not a big conspiracy, but I do not believe in climbing up a cave 1,000 miles from some city and pulling bats out of there and playing with their viruses. Whether you're a noble person or not, it's stupid to me. But the pestilences are coming. And earthquakes. In diverse places, in other words, they're not all localized into one area. They're going to be happening around the world. And, as you think about plate tectonics and the way that the various continental plates move on the surface of the earth, and some of them go under another plate, Some of them move side to side by each other, scraping each other as they move. And sometimes they get stuck and build up more and more pressure until it finally gets enough pressure and then makes a giant movement and takes out cities and whatnot. And these will cause where the plates are moving by or going one plate above and the other plate under each other, you get the volcanic activity and whatnot. But we're going to be, according to the Bible, seeing a lot more of this. But we are starting to see some of the signs. I mean, we're seeing the wars and the rumors of war and the pestilence and the famines. You know, they're showing on the news all the time now that the grocery stores are half empty. I go to the Smiths or Albertsons and, you know, you see big sections of shelving on the aisles that don't have anything on them. And in some areas of the United States, it's getting even worse. So let's hope maybe this is just a quick flash and things will get back to normal. I have no idea, but it says to watch for these things. All these things are the beginning of sorrows in 24:8 and 24:9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And I have no problem saying that being a Christian is becoming more and more difficult. And the people of, quote unquote, the woke theology do not like Christians. I can't say that it's right not to like them. I would like to be able to talk with them, discuss with them, but you'll find that they have a very low tolerance for discussing or debating certain issues, like there's two sexes, not permitted. In fact, in some countries, by not using the proper pronoun for somebody, which I would have no clue what pronoun to use, it's considered a hate crime, which is a very serious crime in those countries, and you can go to jail. So things will be getting worse. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And that's an interesting thing. The man that loved to the point of being willing to die for us, whines and loved by many, but hated by most. Remember, few enter into the kingdom of heaven. Many choose not to and wind up in hell. And they, I guess, take a few of us out before they go to hell. And then shall many be offended, because they don't want to be those that are killed for proclaiming the name of Christ and believing in Christ, right? And many shall be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. So maybe that will, I guess, show us who the ones that were really our brothers are. Because some are going to say, it's not worth it to die. And I'd rather turn my brothers and sisters in than die. So it will wind up causing horrific things. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And we're seeing that. But I think the type of false prophet that it's talking about here is prophets that come up with a new strategy and a new way. And I think it has something to do with the woke theology, where they talk about a new, kinder, gentler, more equitable, more diverse religion than your Christianity, which I worked on in my last lesson. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And I think, if you think about that, next lesson I do will start from that verse and go on. And it's verse 12 of Matthew 24. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Please do what you can to get the message out. Would you share my word? Think of somebody, even if it makes them not like you so much, or want to turn you in for being a believer, or what do you got to lose? We're all going to die. No matter how long you live, you're going to be dead a lot longer in the flesh. But in the spirit, you'll be alive forever. Father and God, thank you for your precious word, and thank you for the warnings that you're giving us. I ask that you take my jumbled words and make them work and make sense to people, Lord. And I ask that you bless my follow-up lessons on this subject. For it's Jesus' name I pray and give you thanks and glory. Amen.